When my son, Imran, told me he was increasing my rent to $1,200 a month, I thought he was joking. We were sitting at the small dining table in his apartment, the one I had helped him buy with my savings years ago. I still remembered the day he signed the papers, his hands shaking with excitement, his wife beside him, smiling proudly. Back then he had said, "Amy, this home is yours too, you will always have a place here." So when he cleared his throat and said, "Amy, from next month the rent will be 1200, I laughed softly and said, "Beta, what rent? This is your house, I am your mother." He didn't meet my eyes. He stared at his phone, scrolling as if something there was more important than the woman who had carried him for 9 months and raised him alone after his father passed away. "I know, Amy," he said, "but things are expensive now. The kids' school, the car loan, groceries, you're using one room, utilities, food, it's only fair." Fair. That word stayed with me long after the conversation ended. I had been paying a small amount before, just enough to contribute, never a demand. I lived quietly, cooked, cleaned, took care of the children, and tried not to be a burden. My pension was modest, and after medical bills and medicines, there wasn't much left. $1,200 was more than half of what I received in a month. I didn't argue that day, I simply nodded. That night, I lay awake on the thin mattress in the guest room, listening to the sounds of my grandchildren laughing in their sleep, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic. I thought of all the years I had skipped meals so Imran could eat better, of the nights I stayed up sewing clothes to pay his school fees, of the prayers I whispered when he was sick. And now I was being priced like a tenant. In the morning, I made tea as usual, I packed the children's lunches, I folded the laundry. No one noticed that my hands were trembling. 3 days later, I quietly packed my things. Not much fit into my two old suitcases: a few clothes, my prayer mat, framed photos of my late husband, and the small jewelry box that held memories more than gold. I left a note on the table. "Imran, I don't want to be a burden or a business transaction. You have your life, your responsibilities. I will manage on my own. May Allah keep you and your children safe. Ami." I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I didn't want tears, arguments, or guilt. I took a bus to a small, affordable apartment on the edge of the city. It was old, the paint peeling, the elevator often broken, but the landlord was kind and the rent was within what I could manage. The first night there, the silence was heavy. No children's footsteps, no television noise, no smell of cooking from the kitchen, just me and the ticking of a wall clock. I told myself I was fine. On the second day, I went to the nearby mosque for prayers. An elderly woman smiled at me and asked if I was new. We talked, and for the first time in days, I felt a little less invisible. On the third day, my phone rang. I was washing dishes when I noticed it vibrating on the counter. One missed call, then another, and another. By the time I dried my hands and picked it up, there were 7 missed calls from Imran. I didn't call back. Part of me wanted to hear his voice. Another part was too tired, too hurt. That night, I turned my phone to silent and slept. The next morning, when I turned it back on, there were 23 missed calls, messages too. "Amy, where are you? Please call me. Are you okay? Amy, the kids are crying, they miss you. Please just answer." By evening, the number had reached 35. 35 times my phone had rung, and 35 times I had been too afraid to answer. I sat on the edge of my bed holding the phone, my heart pounding. Finally, I pressed the call button. He answered on the first ring. "Amy," his voice broke. "Where are you? Why did you leave like that? Are you safe?" "I am safe," I said quietly. "I am in a small apartment. I am fine." "Why didn't you tell me? We were so worried. I went to the police station. I thought something had happened to you." I closed my eyes. "You set a price for me to stay, Beta. I didn't want to be another bill on your list." There was silence on the line. Then he said softly, "Amy, I didn't mean it like that. I was just stressed. I didn't think you would actually leave." "That is the problem," I replied. "You didn't think." A few hours later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Imran stood there, his eyes red, his hair messy as if he hadn't slept. Behind him were my 2 grandchildren clinging to his legs. "Daddy," they cried, running into my arms. I held them tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of their hair, feeling their small hands around my neck. Tears finally slipped down my cheeks. Imran stood awkwardly, then said, Amy, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I should never have spoken to you about rent like that. This is your home too, please come back. I looked at him for a long moment. I saw not the confident man who talked about expenses and fairness, but the little boy who once cried when he scraped his knee, who used to hide behind me when he was scared. I love you, I said, but love is not enough when respect is missing. He lowered his head. I respect you, Amy, I swear, I forgot for a moment what you've done for me. I invited them inside. We sat on the worn sofa, the children chatting happily, telling me about school, about the cat they wanted, about how the house felt empty without me. Imran finally spoke again. Please come back, not as a tenant, as my mother, as part of the family. I smiled sadly. Beta, I will always be your mother, but I have learned something these past few days. I need my own space, my own dignity. I don't want to feel like I am living on someone's mercy. He nodded slowly. Can I at least help with your rent or your expenses? You can help by visiting, I said gently, by bringing the children, by remembering me in your prayers. Not everything needs to be a transaction. That day, he stayed for hours. He fixed the loose door handle, checked the lights, made sure I had enough groceries. Before leaving, he hugged me tightly. I'm sorry, Amy, he whispered. I won't forget again. As they walked away, I looked at my small apartment. It wasn't grand, it wasn't filled with noise and laughter all the time, but it was mine. And sometimes, walking away is the only way to remind people of your worth.